Alright everyone, we have to start out today talking about, of course, quite big news, which is that Joe Biden has lost the support of Adam Schiff. Yes, Shifty Schiff himself, who's basically Pelosi's second. Like, if they were in a fucking wizard duel, she'd choose him. He's decided that he's off the Biden bus. The short bus, that is. This is exceptional. This is drastic. Losing a couple of minor members of Congress, maybe governor here, there, or something, a mayor, nobody cares. It doesn't mean anything. Losing Adam Schiff, though, my goodness. I mean, he rules the roost. He's on pretty much every fucking committee. He's running for the goddamn Senate, I think, actually, at the moment. May or may not win, probably will. If Biden has lost him, and he's saying it's time to pass the torch, basically. Biden's list of allies is growing rather short. A lot of people in the Democratic Party haven't weighed in at all. Most of them haven't really said, yes, I'm for Biden, or no, I'm against Biden. We've got DNC convention shenanigans to talk about, by the way, as well. They're trying to do an oral vote ahead of time to make sure that everyone is on paper beforehand because they're trying to lock the convention down. A physical convention may or may not even happen at this point because they're worried about mass protests, because they don't want any mutiny within the party. What's happened is that you have a disconnect between the Democratic Party's leadership structure, so the people that make the money, the people that make the really big decisions, and a growing chorus of people that are sort of outside of that realm. To have Schiff, therefore, be one of them is quite telling because he's in the inner circle. He is part of that leadership structure within the Democratic Party. This is the first time that someone that really has clout within the Democratic Party has decided to throw Biden under the short bus, so to speak. We've not seen it from anyone else. Again, we see some leftoid dissidents. They're not happy about it mainly because of the Gaza thing. And then a handful of neoliberals, well, they're the same thing, it doesn't matter, from within the party, but they're more minor figures. They're not national names. Everyone knows who Adam Schiff is. Most of us fucking hate him, but you know who he is. He's part of the leadership structure of the Democratic Party. He's basically Nancy Pelosi's fucking lapdog. Then we get scuttlebutt about Chuck Schumer, supposedly, from an unnamed source. So, grain of salt mode, we're not sure whether this is true. Privately saying to Biden that he should stand aside. We don't know whether that's true or not, but it's believable at this point. I mean, we're going to be in the live stream today. We're going to be talking about the new polling. It's monumental. I mean, it's catastrophic for the Biden administration and for the Democrats in general. And I think that what they're really worried about is down ballot damage. I don't think they give a fuck about who their nominee is for the presidency. I mean, they just tried to kill their opponent, and it's quite clear that there's some sort of inside story there. So clearly they're desperate. I think that as far as the congressional Dems go, though, Senate and House and some of the other major figures within the party, I think what they're really worried about is that Biden's ineptitude and the rise of Trump in the wake of almost having his head blown off is going to trickle to down ballot damage. That is, they would rather cycle him out, but they're hesitant to try to force him out. What's going on right now is completely inexplicable within U.S. politics. It is chaos. If it was at level 8 out of 10 the other day, with Schiff's announcement it reaches a 9 out of 10. We're near the boiling point at this point within U.S. politics. This is the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my goddamn life. This makes 2016 look like 2012. A boring election, okay. Obama's running for re-election, and then you have boring-ass Mitt Romney. And he putters around and stops campaigning inexplicably in the last month, and it didn't really make sense. But it wasn't really that chaotic. You had a few gotcha moments, like, what was it, killing Big Bird and binders full of women and stuff like that. Other than that, though, it is a standard election. Or like the most boring in my lifetime, 2004. Holy shit. Puttering George W. versus moose-faced and exceptionally boring John Kerry, who still inexplicably has a political career, and it depends on the administration at the time. Joe Biden's lost Schiff. He lost Adam Schiff, Pussyface himself. The most TDS suffering Democrat has decided to say, no, I don't think that Joe Biden should run. I think that the gig is up. The music has ended. The ship is sinking. And to come out publicly and say it within the realm of politics, partisan politics, that is. By the way, there's like a rook or a crow or something that won't fucking shut up. I think he's horny or something. He's been doing this for days. You really don't see this, generally speaking. You had like some party leadership in 2016, right? And they were verbally rather anti-Trump. But once you got to this late stage in the game and you knew who the nominee was going to be or who the presumptive nominee was going to be, they pretty much shut up about it. They just held their tongue, and generally speaking, they said, okay, this is not the situation that I wanted, but we got to win because, it's big money and shit. Political parties are basically corporations. We're getting towards the end of July at this point. We're headed on towards it's the third week of July right now. And Adam Schiff decides to fly the coop. And he must have gotten berated by Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi, of all people, is the one that's really on board with Biden. And that's because she's a political pragmatist. The Democrats at this point basically have three choices. And these are the choices that they have, and none of them are good. Number one, let Biden run. You've had a dust-up in the party. You're hoping to quell that as much as possible. But again, he's still got some months before the election. Basically close your fucking mouth and deal with the fact that Biden's probably walking into a disastrous re-election campaign where he loses. That's choice number one. It's not a good choice. Choice number two is worse, though. It's not as bad as choice number three, though, in my opinion. Choice number two is you cycle him out for Kamala, because if you force Biden out, she becomes effectively the only thing close to an incumbent. She's the vice president, and you probably can't cock-block her, assuming that she's willing to run. So you run Kamala. Kamala Harris is uncharismatic and depraved, and most people don't like her, including a significant proportion of liberals. Nonetheless, at least you've got one saving grace. People who voted for the Biden-Harris ticket will be a little bit less turned off by that choice than choice number three, because they did vote for a ticket, admittedly, that Kamala Harris was on. So it's a little bit better. Choice number three is that you cycle them both out, force them both aside, and you have a dark horse candidate running. Yeah, Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer or something. So now, you've lost any chance of incumbency. Alan Lichtman would love that, by the way, according to his keys to the White House predictions. He'd switch to Team Trump very quickly, and he would be irate about it, as he usually is. You've got a non-incumbent that people didn't vote for in the primaries that might not be a good candidate anyway because you don't know who the DNC is going to earmark for the position. And then you have a last-minute primary battle or some shit like that while seeding several states under their conventional rules. You seed Wisconsin, you seed Nevada, you seed Georgia. That's the worst of all possible scenarios. Honestly, I still cling to my belief that the best thing the Democrats can do is just fucking let Joe run. Will he win? Probably not. At this point, there's a 99% chance that he loses. But I think that he loses by a smaller margin than any other potential candidate. And that's the irony of it. And then he inexplicably gets COVID the day after he says he would step aside if there was a medical situation involving him. That's a coincidence. We'll be talking about that separately. He's lost Adam Schiff, one of the highest-ranking Democrats in Congress who's probably about to become a senator. He's lost his support. Again, there isn't a lot of vocal support for Joe Biden other than coming from Pelosi's office and possibly Schumer, but we're not even sure about that at this point. The ranking Senate Democrat might also privately be telling Joe, hey, we're getting really goddamn nervous about this. You're not pulling in as much money. Now you're sick, so you can't fucking campaign. Donald Trump is surging. We tried and failed to fucking assassinate him, and it's really biting us in the ass, and we need to cycle you out, Joe. For the benefit of your party, if not your country, we need to cycle you out. Stop Orange Man. It's inexplicable. I don't even know what the fuck is going on. I've been doing this since the late fucking 2000s, and I am genuinely fucking confused. That's about all. Peace out.